Alrighty. It's not a Horse Geeks
I
podcast.
know. I had to
Had to
pause and
pause.
go, okay, what are we
Yeah.
doing? Why are we here?
Why are we here? We're here to look at who are you riding in this video?
Finer things again.
Finer
And
things.
it's interesting because I had ridden, I don't know, I think it was 30 minutes into my ride, and I asked Joe to come out to video. And then all of a sudden, this cloud comes over and deluge.
Oh no, you're
So we
kidding.
had to go back in the barn and wait 20 minutes or so. So we were standing for like 20 minutes before we got back out again.
Uh,
And this is with my new camera. So I'm really interested to see
okay.
what we think
So
of my new expensive camera, phone
I
camera, whatever.
did not get a chance to look at it at all.
I
So
just watched a few minutes and I have some things I want to go over, but let's see what it looks like from this perspective.
so what do you want to go over while we're letting this play through? Was it
Okay. So what drew my attention, and it has for a long time, and I don't know how to control it, is how much she very sloshes me in the saddle a little bit. Do you see that?
yeah, the side to side
Yeah, a little bit. And man, I rode
or the front to back? Like
both, all of it. And
okay.
I rode not yesterday, but the day before, as much as I could with my eyes closed, just to see if I could I just can't get my timing in front of it.
No, you're actually doing really well. I see the movement you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like bugging me. I don't know why, but I'm feeling that's the part of her not being stable in her rib cage, where she's, especially when you go to trot and she throws you everywhere,
Hmm.
that I'm feeling that at the walk is what I'm thinking.
She's also showing, she's reflecting it in her neck use.
Okay. Here
So,
I'm starting to try to establish some rein contact.
and do you think that's why she's holding a little bit of a curl in her
Probably.
neck?
Yeah. Yeah, I keep trying to establish contact and then she pulls it down, see, like there, and then I let it go.
And why do you want the rain contact?
I'm just playing with it.
Okay.
She's not seeking grass because we're in a drought here, so there is no grass. So I thought, well, let's look at rain contact. And she didn't want to stay in front of the camera. She wanted to go to the barn. So that's a big deal.
Which is fine. You should be able to steer her around at
I
least with
have
the
been.
rain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's no big deal. That's her thing. She keeps turning to go back to the barn.
And so you're concerned about the sort of shakiness of your seat. And
Right.
sometimes, most of the time, I'm seeing it sort of in a front back direction.
Okay.
Every once in a while, like there on the turn,
Yeah,
you're
and she's
doing,
going downhill.
well, you're doing so much better not
Okay.
being rolled left to
Okay,
right.
I needed to hear that because I'm feeling that no, I'm
So,
not feeling what I'm seeing. Um, when I was riding, I didn't feel it, but now I see it.
so just as you come through this corner, there's a small moment of it, but this is what you used to do. Oh my God, Deb, this is such a hard habit to break. Do you see my little mouse?
Yeah, I know, my head and my eyes.
I know. And where's your horse's head?
That way. Yeah,
And where's your
straight.
head?
I know.
Yeah, that's why you're not feeling what you need to feel in
Okay.
detail in your seat.
Okay.
Even as talented as you are with managing your body, I don't know why, I can't explain it, but it is a consistent phenomenon. And as jump riders, it's the hardest freaking
Oh,
habit to
that's a
overcome.
good point.
Okay? It's drilled into everybody, but if
Mm-hmm.
you've jumped, if you've been trained as a jump rider, this is singularly the biggest impediment to you receiving information through your seat,
Oh,
knowing
that
where to
sounds
be.
like a podcast, doesn't it?
Yes. But this, and you almost need, because our brain doesn't know we're doing this. So, but our body does,
Right.
right? So, this is why in a lot of clinics I've been doing, for this very reason, when I see the rider have this issue, because it's so ingrained that you can't tell yourself not to do it. You have to have an alternative focus.
Okay.
You can't work in the negative.
Mm-hmm.
So what I found helps the most to change this habit is to ride without your stirrups.
Okay, that makes sense. I can
Hmm.
do that.
And then when you turn, the other thing that I found is helpful is, especially because you're working at the walk right now, just drop your stirrups and ride without them. And you're going to listen to your legs and you're going to listen to your seat. So the body has more intelligence about where your seat is. When you
Mhm.
turn your head, like I said, I don't know why, but there's a disconnect of awareness between the lower body and the upper body as soon as we look where we're going with our eyes.
Okay.
And so when you drop your stirrups, that helps. The other thing that helps is when you, like I would take several rides where sort of from the bottom of your bra strap to your toes, you're
Okay.
completely passive. So if you need a whip for forward, carry a whip. And when you
Okay.
need to steer, you're going to isolate from the bottom of your bra to your head and arms the independent use of your arms for steering.
Interesting. Okay.
So you've got to create that disconnect to get more awareness through your seat and your legs. So not having stirrups, having that mental disconnect. And when you steer with the reins, I treat it like I do a baby horse. You want to focus not on where you're going, but if I pull the left rein, the purpose of pulling the left rein is to change the direction of the saddle to the left. Not our head, not the horse's head, the saddle.
Okay.
So, like with green horses, or if I'm solving problems, a lot of times the aids are broken. And what I think we feel instinctually when we turn our head like this is our body knows the saddle is not turning. And so we make up the difference by turning our head more.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Everybody does it. And I
Right.
call it wishful turning because if, like, you can see her head, her neck, and the saddle are sort of going this way, like
Correct.
towards that light post way over there, right?
Right.
Your head is sort of looking past that barn way over
Right.
there, right? So the more you feel she's not turning the saddle, the more we tend to turn the head, not less,
Mm-hmm.
which disconnects us more.
Okay.
Right. So if we steered, like disconnect the arms from the lower body, you're going to be passive, receptive, and listening through your core, your seat, your legs, all the way down to your toes. And it really helps to drop the stirrups to get more awareness
Okay.
because the muscle tone changes in your leg will be way more obvious to you without your
Mm-hmm.
stirrups. The same thing happens with your stirrups, but it's less obvious to our
Right.
awareness, right? So dropping your stirrups just makes any tightening of your legs way more obvious than when you have the stirrups. Because I guarantee when you're turning your head like this, it sort of looks like you might be tightening the outside leg, but I can't see the inside leg.
Right.
But we tend to, the intelligence, and this is what we talked about in a podcast. It's a great example. Our head, right, is sort of off in the next 20 yards, but our legs have the intelligence to tell us it's not happening or you're about to fall off.
Mm.
So that unconscious muscle use that happens automatically in your legs when the saddle is unstable or not going where you want it to go, you will feel one leg hanging and heavy and the other leg shortening, pulling in, tightening. The ankle gets tight, the knee gets tight, the hip joint closes. There's some discrepancy between the ideal hanging, draping leg and something else,
Okay.
right? That's going to tell you left to right, if you have the discrepancy, that you need to move your seat bones towards the tighter leg. The tighter leg is your body intelligence saying, hey, I know the brain doesn't get this, but we're going to prevent you from falling off, right? So the body knows, especially the legs know as a jump rider. The legs know when your axial skeleton is not properly aligned to gravity and stable. So if your right leg grips, you move your seat bone to the right. If your
Okay.
left leg grips, you move your seat bones to the left. Your brain will think you're too far, right? But you're listening, you're taking time out from the brain, listening to the intelligence of the body to know where to place your seat, left to right. The front to back shaking has to do with speed adjustments,
Okay.
right? So again, if you're looking where you're going, which I didn't see in the videos when you weren't steering,
True.
right?
Good point.
So you have to give yourself permission to steer with the reins, but focus on, even if you take the left rein, the saddle has to turn left. When you take the right
Mhm.
rein, the saddle has to turn right. That keeps your awareness on your seat and legs. So you're sort of half aware. You can see where you're going, but you're kind of, the majority of your focus is because as she turns, she's going to speed up and slow down.
Right.
So that shaking of your seat front to back and left to right is the tightness through her back. It's the lack of flexion, right? And so she still has the old habit, which was her strongest habit, to push the back down, shorten the back muscles, not quite have her hind legs underneath her. And all of that shaking force tells you she's back there to some degree.
Okay.
Also, the changes in her head and neck, where she's either a little bit over curling the neck, she's elevating the neck, she's lowering the neck. All of those sort of rapid changes in her neck are also telling you the back and hindquarter is not stable, right? So she's still in that process of shifting her stability from front end to hind end, and she's having a tendency to just shorten her back muscles, get behind with her pelvis, a little disengaged, and drop the back a tiny bit. Nothing major, but that's what you're feeling.
Okay.
Okay. So when I hit play, I'm going to see if I can hit pause at the right time again. I stopped it because on this turn, ooh, there it is. You see your seat?
Yeah.
So this leg was gripping, and now we can see it grip a little more.
Right.
See if I can. You see, it's not bad, right? So you're recovering, but you can see how far her barrel
Has
is
rolled. Yeah.
rolling and pushing into your outside leg. And her pelvis still has not come around the turn,
Right.
right? Now you straightened your head out, which is great, which is probably why you recovered that tilt to the inside. So let me just play that little, because it's pretty subtle. Like I had to pause it here to look at it because you have nailed this 99% of the way. This is just the last little bit. And I
Mm-hmm.
think because you're sort of thinking, don't drag me to the barn, it kind of starts here
Yeah, it does.
and then watch it play out. Right. So then you straighten your head, you feel her, and there she throws you to the outside. So
Mm-hmm.
she went inside, outside.
And outside. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, that was different. She usually just goes high on right.
Yeah. So the high on the inside, outside, when it's shifting back and forth, if it's rapid, it tells you the back is dropped. If it's
Okay.
slow, and it's like if she throws you there again, she lifted you on the inside of the left
That's
turn.
all new. That's
Okay.
all new.
So what that tells you is you don't have enough engagement for her to stabilize her back.
Okay.
So
So what
even if you have to use a little bit of like, it will help you feel how to stabilize the back if you just turn with the reins and leave your lower body to legs passive.
So when you say turn with the reins, do you want her to be straight from pole to tail or do like a cowboy rein, what I call a cowboy rein, and just pull her around?
So at this juncture, here's where we are with her. To get her out of upside down, you need the neck straight and you
Right.
need to resist the rolling effect of rotation through the back. And it doesn't matter if you're steering or not steering, you need that broomstick straight line of
Okay.
force, pull to tail, and you need to reduce the rolling effect through under the saddle. You've done that as far as you can go, and she's not resorting into dropping her back, shortening her neck like she once was. The reason she resorts back to a micro version of that and still is trying to hold in her neck is because even though you've gotten the internal straightness way more stable than it used to be, she doesn't have enough engagement of the hindquarters to control her body weight.
Okay.
So what's happening is you need a deeper placement of like just there on the turn, you got it. She lengthened the neck fully, which is the whole back, but she also fell into long and low. No big
Mhm.
deal, right? But you see, it's a true long and low rather than, I think, when you're playing with the rein contact, it's a tad premature
Okay.
because even when you're on a loose rein, she's dropping the pole a little, putting a curl in her neck
Yeah.
downward, or shortening her neck a little upward. The
Yeah.
reason she's
Okay.
doing that with her neck is because she's still trying to stabilize her movement on the front end. So at the point, full circle, I am getting back to your question about the neck on a turn. When you're at this point that she needs a deeper placement of the hind legs. She needs enough engagement and stability through the back and hindquarters to go to the next iteration of balance. Okay.
Mhm.
So at this point, because it's difficult for her, in this case, at this point of training, I'm only going to steer with the reins, knowing that if I have to bend the neck to get the turn is what's going to help the leg placement,
Right.
right? The rein is going to take the saddle on the tight turn. If it's not easy for her, you're going to end up bending her neck to get the tight turn.
Okay.
What that's going to do is exaggerate the problem she has, but she has the problem either way, right? So I go for a few rides. I don't care if I have to bend the horse's neck to get the tighter turn. What you're going to feel if that happens is way more obvious force of the barrel rolling you to the outside of the
Mhm.
turn. And you're going to have to figure out where to place your center, how much body weight you need to resist that rolling effect. So if you end up having to bend the neck to make the turn, it just makes it worse.
Right.
If if she can keep the neck straight on a tight turn, it's not you don't get as much inverted rotation, but you might need that for clarity. So that's why I go, it's sort of a training step, right? Because you're managing it, but your timing is a little behind
Mhm.
on managing. She moves you and then you move back. If you don't have your stirrups and you use your reins to turn the saddle on a tight left turn, tight right turn, you're going to keep your focus on your core, seat, and legs. As soon as one leg tightens, you are too far to the opposite side.
Okay.
Okay. So if you can manage the rolling aspect on a tight turn, then she has to figure out how to stabilize and push with the inside hind, even if it's not perfect at first. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So none of it
Would
has to
it
be perfect.
would it be a good idea to long line her a little bit? I haven't
Mhm.
in a long time.
You might find at this point long reins on a small circle
Mm-hmm.
and then get on and ride her.
And see what the difference is. Okay.
Right. Like the thing that kept me going, even though none of my mentors liked the long reins at all, I kept feeling if I do the long reins on a small circle, I'm not dealing with as much instability through the
Right.
back and hindquarter. I don't necessarily get a boatload more engagement, and I certainly don't get perfect balance. But what I definitely get is more stability through the back and the hindquarter,
Okay.
which is really what you're struggling with. Right? You're doing a great job, but the shaking, timing wise, it's really hard to get your weight in the right place in order to resist the movement of your body.
Right.
So the legs out of the stirrups and the turning with the reins will really help you feel the exaggerated version of the problem.
Okay. That's what I was feeling when I closed my eyes too. Was
Was
the exaggerated feeling of what was going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's exactly what I am talking about. Oops, hang on, I want to go back. Oh crap, hang on. Let me get this. I'm on one of your older videos. It's going through a playlist. There we go. I have to hit that button before it stops the video, or I have
Oh,
to, or it goes to the next one. So this is just a replay. So now as we watch it, kind of watch, see your head isn't bad. It's only once in a while that you turn your head too far and then you can't feel your seat. So if you drop your stirrups, you'll find you do that even less.
okay.
Okay. Then when you turn her, whether her neck is long, low, outside bend, inside bend, at this point, I don't care what the neck is showing you because it's going to be difficult. If you can prevent the rolling of the barrel on a tight turn, you're working with the stability of the back and the hindquarter with the hindquarter, hind leg taking a deeper step because of the turn. So
Right.
it's a way to work towards more engagement and more stability without having to even yet have a rein contact.
Okay.
Okay. And because she's so sort of rubbery with her neck and,
Hmm.
can get behind, I would save the rein contact for a little bit later.
Okay.
Hmm.
Keep hoping.
Well, because what she's doing is she's falling forward.
Yes.
So unless you can use rein resistance without her going crooked or dropping her back, which in this case I think would be very tricky, if you
Hmm.
can't use rein resistance to increase the braking, right,
Right.
then you need the turn to increase the braking,
Okay.
okay? And I know what she's going to do with her neck and back because it's a very strong habit for her.
Yeah.
I know she's going to curl the neck, get behind, drop the
Uh-huh.
back, and go wiggle, 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 wiggle,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
So I would use one rein at a time, and you're using the tight turn as a rein resistance substitute.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, because to increase the braking, the turn helps deepen the inside leg placement, inside hind leg placement. It helps widen the front leg placement, but only if you can resist the rolling or the escape through the inverted rotation, right?
Now she tends to when I want to put her on a sharp
Mm,
turn, she wants to decrease speed. Do I keep asking
perfect.
for forward? Oh, it's
Only
perfect. You want that.
that's braking.
Okay. So let her
Braking,
decrease her speed.
if she stops, keep your body passive and use a whip to just
Okay.
talk to the hind legs and say, pick me up and take me forward. But
Okay.
at this point, you want to really let her play with speed,
Okay.
right? But
Okay.
part of her MO, over curling the neck, dropping the back, falling forward, also was related to excessive speed, too fast,
Always, yeah.
couldn't slow down, right? So that's reliance on the accelerator with bad brakes.
Mm-hmm.
So increasing engagement and increasing stability are both functions of the braking mechanism,
Okay.
right? So when she's properly working the braking mechanism, she's going to choose to slow down or maybe halt. The halt is a little bit overshooting the mark. No big deal.
Okay.
She's got the right idea, right? So you don't want to criticize her if she accidentally halts. You just want to say, could you go forward again? But if she slows down without stopping and you're not having to push her with a leg aid, that's her learning to use the braking mechanism, which is what's going to give you more stability through the saddle and the hindquarter.
Okay, so you want an actual small circle, not her habit is when I ask for a small circle, she wants to come to a halt and do a turn on the haunches or turn on the forehand, whichever one. She wants to plant her hind legs and move her front end around.
So that's just an avoidance.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's why you need to carry a whip,
A whip. Okay.
because both of the things you're describing are sort of maybe a general idea that she needs to find braking, but she's
Okay.
overshooting the mark,
Okay.
right? So you need to encourage forward, even if it's on a circle, it's straight forward, right? So if any dissipation of energy side to side is not forward, and
Okay.
halting is not forward. Those are the things you correct. Does that make sense? That would
Mm-hmm.
be where you need a little pushing aid. The
Okay.
rest of the time, if you pull the rein to put the saddle on the size of the turn you want, and you're passive, you're not passive. You're just not using leg aids or seat aids. What you're listening
Okay.
for is when your both legs tighten inward, she's either throwing you forward or throwing you back. If one leg tightens more than the other, she's throwing you or rolling you one side or the other,
Okay.
right? So the body intelligence says the brain's being tossed forward, legs grip. The brain's being tossed backwards, legs grip.
Okay.
The brain's being tossed to the left, so the right leg grips. The brain's being tossed to the right, so the left leg grips, right? All of that bypasses our conscious awareness. So the brain's happily going, I'm good, I'm good. And the legs are like, we got this. We're just going to keep gripping
Mm-hmm.
and holding, which is why you can't find that stability in your seat and back.
Okay. That makes sense.
Is the gripping of the legs, the overuse of the muscle. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So without your stirrups, excuse me. Sorry about that. Without your stirrups, you're just going to notice the gripping
More.
more. It's just more,
Frequently.
it's more obvious to our
Right.
awareness. That's it.
Okay.
That's the only purpose, right? So people who don't feel safe without their stirrups, I go, you don't have to drop your stirrups, but if you feel safe to do it, it's way faster
Okay.
to gain that understanding and awareness, right?
Is there
The
any go like riding bareback would be better? I don't have a problem with that either, but
Not necessarily. I mean, riding bareback, maybe you feel more awareness, but it, to hold your true vertical position bareback, you actually have to use more muscle effort in your
right.
legs than in the saddle.
Right.
So the saddle is supporting that sort of passiveness. You're just needing enough muscle to keep yourself vertical, right?
Okay.
And what you're trying to discover, and some people, when they drop the stirrups, are still trying to maintain heels down and their bent leg position.
Yeah, no,
No,
I think I'm over that.
yeah, the whole point of dropping your stirrups is so that you become aware in your unique body of your body intelligence that has been preventing you from falling off, but also preventing you from really being stable through your skeleton,
Okay.
right? So the more we grip, the more the seat and the core shake,
Okay.
right? When we balance the skeleton, which think about it more in terms of shifting sand around your body, right? Everybody tends to use muscle. But in order to stabilize the skeleton, you could change your focus to weight, right? So if your body weight is sort of like sand that can move around inside the body, if we get too far behind vertical, that sand comes out of our legs and plops in our seat. So one of the ways I know I'm vertical is when my legs feel slightly heavier than my seat.
Okay. That makes
That's
sense.
in any saddle on any horse. I know that if my seat has slightly less body weight than my legs, then my torso is vertical. My brain doesn't always think that's vertical because
Right.
that depends on the saddle and the horse's movement. But that is my body intelligence telling me I'm vertical. So I'm not lifting weight upward into the shoulders. I've dropped
Right.
it from the shoulders to the seat, and then I've dropped it slightly more into the legs from the seat. And I think with her movement, oh, darn, darn
Okay,
it, hang
hold on.
on.
I gotta let a
I did
bee
it
out of my
again.
room. Hold on.
I gotta watch this.
All right.
Dang nabbit, I hate it when if I don't catch that repeat button right
That's okay.
away,
That was
it's
perfect
like
timing.
YouTube just moves on. So, um, so I'll try to watch as I get to the end and
It's
just
like 10 or 12
scroll it back.
minutes.
Yeah. So, so think more in terms of you have this unstable barrel. It's changing speed front to back, just like in your car, right? Braking and accelerating. And then it's also rolling side to side,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the least amount of tension we can have in our body is if we're internally using our body weight to resist the high side of the barrel rolling, or using our weight to resist that inertia force throwing us front to back. So the weight in the legs more than the seat is already going to help. The weight more in the legs than the seat also helps us cope with the left to right with more clarity and more accuracy.
Okay.
And what I see her do, and I think you talked about this in the group, I see her throw you back
Yeah, she can
a
really
lot.
do that.
Yeah, on the turns and just in the movement. Like there, I would say your weight's more in your seat than your legs. On the
Right.
turn, you'll see yourself lean back just a hair, right? But
Mm-hmm.
when we get more weight in the seat compared to the legs, it feels like a double bounce when we get pushed left to
Mm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a little bit of centrifugal force,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and we have to work twice as hard to get forward to the left or forward to the right. If you sort of compare the weight in your seat to the weight in your legs, and that's why you want the legs hanging out of the stirrups. You want to direct your body weight down through the leg. And when you're there, all of a sudden the left to right is way more obvious. And
Okay.
you'll forget to turn your head at all. Your focus will be so much on your seat, your legs, the saddle, and absent-mindedly just pull one rein to keep her on a tight turn,
Okay.
right? Because if you can make the tight turn and resist with your body weight the rolling effect, that's her escape from using the hind leg.
No, leave it open. I gotta pee in here.
So the rolling, the inverted rotation or too much rotation is the barrel rolling left to right. And if we can resist the rolling during the turn, whether it's too much in the direction of the turn or too much away from the direction of the turn, that's what causes them to have to use the hind leg.
And you say to stop that, I just have to get more weight down into my legs.
Getting more weight in your legs compared to your seat will make you more efficient.
Okay.
You still have to feel it and do it.
Okay.
Because when we're getting thrown backwards with our weight into our seat, or we're getting thrown to the outside of the turn when the barrel rolls, then you have no positive effect on the use of the hind leg.
Oh, that
You don't,
makes sense.
you don't get the engagement because you're riding the escape with the horse.
Okay.
When you can resist being pitched backwards or to the outside, then you're creating a weight resistance that the horse's hind leg has to push into.
Okay.
That's what builds the stability of the hind leg. The turn is changing the placement of the hind leg, getting the inside hind a little deeper towards the center. But how you resist the rolling or the pitching forward and back is what makes her use the hind leg,
Okay.
even if it's imperfect. That's how you increase the braking or strengthen the braking when you can't use rein resistance.
Okay.
In her case, and at first, it's going to involve some overbending of the neck, a lot of exaggerated forces, and just you can either play with alternate left-right turns, you can stay on one direction, you can spiral in and out, sort of looking for what size circle do I start to feel the hind leg under my seat, right? So you can play with it all different ways, but that is how you improve both the engagement of the hindquarters related to the braking mechanism of the body and the stability of the back and hindquarters, again, which is the purpose of the braking mechanism of the body. She has plenty of push and acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
So only
She has
when,
more acceleration, like right when I bring her out, she just really wants to go, but she
so,
wants to go in straight lines. She doesn't want to turn.
so the body only has two options to find stability when the balance is not good, right? They either slow down and barely move forward, resisting forward. If a horse reduces the pushing force, they feel more stable. She takes the other option. If she keeps going faster and faster, she can use momentum as a stabilizing force. And when horses are out of balance, disengaged, the back is dropped, they're overusing the neck, the weight's on the front legs, all of those different imbalances mean you're going to have one of those two problems. Either the horse is too fast or the horse is too slow. The reason the horse is too fast or the reason the horse is too slow is because the body, the horse's body, is seeking stability.
Would it help if I actually rode her in a confined space like my little arena?
Maybe. I
Because
mean,
I'd have some boundaries at least for me. When I'm riding out in the open, which I do most of the time, I don't have any gauge to go by.
yeah, so the visual does help us more than the horse.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, we get a little lost in an open space on
Right.
geometry and paths of travel. That's why we have letters in a dressage ring.
Yeah, is that? Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's what I would put the emphasis on right now is you've improved her stability massively by keeping the neck straight and resisting all the forces in the saddle as much as you can. The reason it's still there is less to do with internal straightness. Internal straightness is combining the two functions of reducing lateral bend, creating a straight alignment of the spine, and resisting rotation, trying to stop the rolling of the barrel on a straight line. You've gotten where you are now by doing that, which is
Okay.
better than she's ever been, right? The reason you're still dealing with instability in the saddle, lack of steering from the saddle, and speed issues is because until she's more engaged, she can't get off the forehand.
Okay.
So you've got her straighter, but we still have too much weight on the front legs.
Front legs.
So she can't stabilize her back and hindquarter to the point that she consistently isn't overusing her neck, that she's releasing her neck, right? And you get the
Mm-hmm.
rattling of the rider,
Yeah.
right? So what that is her contracting the neck and the back the wrong way, seeking stability in a more subtle version than what she used to do. And this is what balance is. It's just a journey into precision.
Oh, I like that. I'm glad we recorded that.
Ah, write that down.
Yeah, write that down. That one's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what you've done is you've gone from the gross imbalance to a big improvement. And you're at a level of refinement, but you're also at a level where sometimes we have to choose. Is the priority of the body right now internal straightness, or is the priority of the body right now the sort of more front back balance rather than the
Mm-hmm.
left right, which is going to involve braking, pushing, more engagement, and getting the weight off the front legs. So as you're sort of what helped her before was leave her on the forehand, but just stabilize all these left, right
Mm-hmm.
crazy forces. You've done that, right? So now as we're trying to get her off the forehand, more engaged and more stable through her hindquarters and back, we might have to sacrifice a little bit of that internal, oh, crap, 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 crap. We might have to internal, oh, I missed it again. Okay, talking is so funny. So
Yeah, that's like last year. That's so funny.
I know your playlist just keeps going. If
I
I don't,
love it. I'll have
yeah,
to try that sometime when I'm really bored.
it's one of the things I love most about YouTube is
Uh-huh.
when students keep a playlist, we actually you can go back through
And
and
compare. That's great.
see where you've come. Because it's so funny. I run into this, I'm not progressing thing at lessons a lot. And if you actually look back at videos, you see your progress. But
Mm-hmm.
our brains, our powerful brains adapt so fast
Mm-hmm.
because we're always improving. And where you're at now is a refinement of what you've been doing. You're becoming more
Okay.
precise,
I'm
right?
glad you said that.
And that can make us feel like we're never making progress.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, and the
No,
truth is, we're always making progress and we never get to the goal when it comes to perfect
well, that's
movement.
true.
I go, none of us are ever going to move with perfect optimal use of our bodies or the
Right.
horses. So it's a never-ending journey into more precision and more precision at the pace that you and the horse can authentically achieve.
Right.
I go, there's a lot of ways to make you feel like you're getting somewhere faster. But I go, the truth is, you're going to wind up back here unless you do it
Again,
authentically.
I
Mhm.
agree. That's truth.
Or you're going to have a lame horse, or you're going to need joint injections, or you're.
Yeah. I mean, considering she's 23,
Mhm.
never had, knock on wood, any joint problems.
Right. So there on that turn, let me stop there. That was pretty good for what I'm talking about.
Oh, yay. One
So
good
here's
turn.
the long neck.
Yep,
On
she's
that
long.
turn, do you see on that tight of a turn? If you could resist the rolling a little bit more,
More.
where
Okay.
she's slowing down, what you're seeing is resistance through the hind leg. That's
Okay. It's not just quote unquote slowing down.
like
I'm
there
just not
again,
seeing or feeling what's going on.
right?
Okay. That's
Because
important.
horses can slow down two ways. They can take their foot off the accelerator, or they can increase the braking force. So if we want to slow down our car, we can take our foot off the accelerator and just naturally reduce the force, forward
Right?
force. Or when we put our foot on the brake is an active resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Taking our foot off the accelerator is a passive deceleration, right? In order to lift the back and build stability, we need the active resistance of braking balanced with the active pushing force of acceleration,
Okay.
right? So acceleration is your locomotion muscles, right? And then braking uses your stabilizing muscles. Two different muscle fiber types, two different muscle fiber functions. So she's not just slowing down. And how do I know the difference as a rider? How do I know the difference as a rider between my horse taking the foot off the accelerator
Mm-hmm.
or actually using braking as a resistant force for stability?
I don't know.
I just gave you the answer.
Oh,
The answer was in the question.
the braking force and using the different
St, st,
muscles,
st, st.
stabilizing muscles as opposed to locomotor muscles.
So what would I feel in the saddle if that happened?
If she was using, I don't, in,
St,
I
st,
might be able to feel her back come
st,
up, but I don't.
st, st.
Stability.
Yes, thank you very much.
But I feel when
No,
she, I'll
feel.
have to pay more attention because what I feel when she slows down on a turn, and maybe it is stability, it feels like a locking of her back. Does that make sense?
Describe locking.
Stillness.
Ding, 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 ding. Winner, 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 chicken dinner.
Okay.
The whole purpose of
Okay.
lifting a horse's back. So you lift the back by balancing precisely the forces of locomotion and stability, the forces of pushing and braking. That's what pulls the back up into flexion through the back muscles.
Okay.
And if you do that first, you get the result of an engaged hindquarter. Or
Okay.
what I'm saying is, let's just engage, let's place the hind leg a little deeper,
Okay.
try to stabilize it on a turn to strengthen her braking mechanism.
Okay.
So, and this is so funny because I go, it's not theoretical. It's
Not at all.
it's practical.
Mm-hmm.
So on this turn, the way I know as a rider is if my horse just takes the foot off the accelerator, the
Okay.
saddle is still going to shake me left, right, front, back. The barrel's still going to roll a
Right.
lot, right? I'm going to have trouble stabilizing my seat in the saddle. I'm going to have a lot of forces affecting the saddle if that's the case. When my horse actually authentically brakes, which is a stabilizing function of the horse's body, meaning it's what prevents the horse from falling when they're going fast or turning, or even slow and turning, right? Or jumping, or doing barrels, or running a race. It's the same thing that prevents us from falling on our face when we go downstairs. We
Okay.
brake, we resist, we
That's helpful.
stabilize, right? So while one of our legs is pushing us forward through space, the other leg is preventing us from falling flat forward on our face. Same with the back muscles. right? So locomotion has to be balanced with stability, or we have a wipeout,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what we're doing, right? When locomotion exceeds stability, pushing exceeds braking, we see little kids running half out of control down steep hills,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we take the foot off the accelerator rather than properly brake, we see old people leaning backwards, taking tenuous steps down a hill,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the little kid running down the hill is your horse using momentum as a stabilizer. Callie, your other horse, is the old person wanting to not move forward because they don't feel stable,
Right.
right? All horses choose one or the other. Sometimes they bounce between both. So the way, like, look at where I froze this video. Look at the placement of this right hind leg.
Okay.
That's pretty good,
Okay.
right? So let's back it up just a little. Right, here comes the leg. We're just going to play it. I wish I could do slow-mo. They don't. It jumps now in 5 or 10 second increments,
Ah.
so it won't actually play slow-mo. It just jumps in.
Oh, darn.
It's okay. We got to train the human eye anyways. There, where she slowed down in the beginning, she's trying to roll you to the outside,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you're a little heavier in your seat than your legs, you're struggling and leaning to get back to the inside.
Okay.
That will be what happens on the first 800 turns,
Okay.
right? But if you can resist being rolled side to side or being pushed front to back, she will learn to balance on that hind leg during a turn.
All right. I will practice that
Okay. So that's the way.
without stirrups, and I'll put her on long lines too. Again, she hasn't been on long lines in forever.
So if you put her on long lines with a saddle on, you
Okay.
can watch exactly what you're riding.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And you can
Okay.
see, you'll see when she's quick on the long reins, the saddle's probably moving more. When she slows down on the long reins, maybe even halts or fusses, you'll see the saddle move less. When the saddle moves less, it's because the braking use of the back muscles balanced with the pushing acceleration creates stability. That's the whole
Okay.
point of lifting the horse's back. It makes them more stable, which then makes the legs more free and mobile, which translates into more agility, more athletic power. All of that comes out of the stability of the saddle. And when in the early degrees of lifting the back, early degrees of flexion, we don't feel the lift. We feel the absence of movement.
That's what I feel when she stops and turns, is the
So
absence of movements. And I'm calling it stiffness, but I didn't know
you're
what else it was.
you're not entirely wrong that it's stiffness because she's
Okay.
physically stopping and avoiding forward.
There you go.
But
Yeah.
what you might be calling locking the back is the stability you want in forward motion. On the
Okay.
way to her finding that, there's going to be about 10,000 mistakes.
Okay.
Just deal with them as they come,
All right.
right?
Okay. Cool.
So let me stop this. I got to wrap it up because we got a meeting.
Yeah, I know. I don't have my watch, so I don't even know what time it is.
I know. Luckily, I put mine on and I went, oh, because the clock wasn't showing when I play video. I lose track of time. Okay,
All
so
right. Cool.
so that was really good stuff to talk about. And
Yeah, it was.
where
Share
you,
away. That was like really good stuff to share.
yeah, because where you're at is she is stable enough that you no longer have her really pushing the back down, the neck up, the big dramatic blow ups and catapulting you forward. All of that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
By just focusing on keeping her neck straight and getting the saddle as stable as you can, even without steering and without speed adjustments, she now is stable enough to get off the forehand.
Okay.
So
I'm
this is
ready.
your next.
I'm so ready.
Yeah. And in this process, you're going to lose a little straightness. You're going to trigger a loss of
Up,
control over the rotation. So
right?
in other words, she may have to bend the neck. She may roll you harder on the turns at first.
But just keep going.
If you can manage to resist that,
Okay.
especially first through the barrel, then the neck.
Barrel first. Remember that. Barrel first. Okay.
Mhm. Because you need the turn to place the leg to get the
To
leg
get
working.
the where you need it. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh boy, I'm gonna watch this one again.
Okie dokes. And I
This
can
was
post
good.
it. Oh,
Yeah,
good. I'll put it on YouTube then.
perfect.
All right. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Mhm.